on Audible. All right, now that I've done that, last night, so if you listen to our show for any amount of time, we have a listener who had a trailer parked in his yard in South Austin. The code enforcement people came by and said, you got to put a fence around that. And he said, okay, I'll put a fence around that. He put a fence around it. Chico, if you want to call in now, that'd be great. He put a fence around it, and then the guy said, fine. And then a new code enforcement guy came in and said, nope, that's not it. The bottom's not covered. Just piddly-ante stuff. And he's been fighting it for years. He goes to court. A jury of his peers says the city is wrong. The fence will stand as it is. The city was at fault, and they should be paying his bills, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? The city code people who wear uniforms with badges said, no, we're still going to go after him probably. We just talked about the problems over in East Austin. We talked about there's all sorts of crack houses in all over town that are dilapidated. You've had floods. You've had everything. But they are egomaniacs and concentrating on this. And then on the other hand, you have the guys in the permit department where any person trying to build something in Austin will tell you it takes you over a year to get anything built because you have to have a guy come out and measure how far a sink is away from a door because our code has just become ridiculous. And you hear stories of these guys just being jerks. Steve Simmons, who spoke last night, mentioned that he had a man pull up at one of Amy's Ice. They're selling ice cream, for the love of God, and hamburgers. They had a guy pull up, started to drive away, and he goes, where are you going? He goes, the plumber doesn't have a license number on his truck. Well, that's not a city code. That's not city code enforcement. That's actually, or permitting enforcement. That's the state of Texas. And so Don Zimmerman, one of our new council members, who we disagree with on a lot of things, but you got to admit, he's taking care of some of this stuff. He's called them to task, and they had an event last night and a meeting. And I'm going to play the story from Fox 7. Here's the lovely Christine Haas. Oh, boy, is she lovely. About what went on last night.
They are abusing their authority. Fox 7's Ashley Predis is joining us live from downtown with more on this. Ashley?
Christine, at tonight's first Public Safety Committee meeting, a lot was on the agenda. One of the biggest items was regarding the policies, procedures, and a lot of concerns with code compliance. Now, you may remember Matthew Palmer, who was taken to court over an alleged code violation involving the fence surrounding his RV. Palmer was required to put up a 6-foot fence, but a problem was found with the 2-foot gap from the grass to where the fence starts.
2-foot gap, folks. The world is falling apart. The city of Austin is going to fall apart over a 2-foot gap below where your feet would see, where you might see tires, probably from an RV.
February of this year, a jury ended up finding him not guilty. Now, at today's meeting, Councilman Don Zimmerman told the code department that they would have to clarify the language used in that fence code. It currently does not state that the gap is prohibited. Another case brought up today was regarding a homeowner who was facing several violations, but were all but one found invalid. We take a listen from him right now.
It's an abuse of authority, and it's hard to say. They're not really breaking policy because they don't have policy. So they honestly don't know what to do, so they just try and do the most they can, and they do it, they exceed kind of the intent quite often, yes.
Now, the committee told the code department that they would have to properly prioritize their 17,000 cases that they handle a year. And in regards to the fence case, the code department did say that they would clarify their language within that code. Back to you in the studio.
Such an interesting and controversial subject, Ashley. Thank you. And this is interesting and controversial subject, Ashley. Thank you. And this is not new. In February, we first told you about the story of Michael Palmer's battle with the city and over the size of his fence. After that story aired, we asked our viewers what they thought about this ordeal. 97% of you said you thought the city wasted tax money in the legal battle. 3% thought it was justified. Joining us now for some insight is Councilmember Don Zimmerman. Don is the Austin City Council member representing District 6. Thank you for being here tonight.
You're welcome.
Clearly, a lot of Austin residents think the code department is going after the little guy here, so to speak. What do you think of this?
Well, it's interesting. Some of the testimony came out on both sides. We actually had a few people say that they had been phoning code compliance for months.
You know what? Enough of this. Let's let Matthew was there last night. So this is Matthew at the fence. Oh, damn it. You there, Matthew? I just hung up on him. Call back, dude.
Guy looks like Tracy Schultz.
I swear to God, if you hit this phone just barely, like if you move a button, like a double hit, it hangs up. You there, dude?
Yeah.
Is this Matthew?
It's me.
Okay, so what happened? Because at 5 o'clock this morning, I'm getting notes from Steve. Let me tell you what Steve. This is what Steve Simmons wrote me. Let's see. Wish it could have been at the code enforcement hearing. The code guys sounded like, I'll just say that they sounded like very mean military guys from Germany. That's what he said here. It was unbelievable. Another guy had cameras and recorded the cops and code enforcement serving a warrant over a tool shed being set 2 feet into the setback. A woman, somebody or something. What happened?
Yeah, so on that guy, he went to the media, and when they confronted code with the video, when the media confronted code, the rep from code said, well, we don't know that that's APD. You know, they just denied being able to say that, you know, they showed up with cops.
Well, why would they need APD at a code enforcement thing unless somebody's threatening violence?
This is what nobody can understand.
Maybe we should get Art Acevedo, who hasn't called me in a week or two or a month or two, to find out why would APD be at a code enforcement thing?
This is another story of Ryan Reed, the guy this happened to. He pushed back, and because these guys, a lot of them are ex-cops, they came with some of their friends, and he did an open records request, and there's no record in the city of them being called, of APD being called, yet the video shows 5 APD officers at his house.
So what?
Fired search warrant.
So what is the status of your fence going to be now?
Well, okay, so my case was finally closed last Tuesday, 5 weeks after I won in court. I did ask Carl Smart last night after the hearing if we were truly done, and he said yes, unless somebody else calls in a complaint, then he was going to consult with legal about coming after me again. I said, you know what double jeopardy means, and this applies. And he says, yes, but I would still come after you.
He actually said he would still come after you. This is who again?
Carl Smart, the director of code.
Why is Carl Smart still employed?
Unfortunately,
why do we have somebody who's illogical in a city position? Is that reviewable by the city council or the city manager? Oh, I'm sorry. The city manager is probably busy buying $16,000 worth of furniture that you could get at IKEA for $29.99.
Well, that's the problem. What I've learned through this whole process is all council can do is set policy. Now, they can fire the city manager, but they can't fire directly the city employees. Carl Smart is a buddy of Mark Ott's. They work together up in Fort Worth.
Oh, a little nepotism going on. Not actual nepotism, but gotcha.
This is why anytime somebody tries to go up to Mark Ott with a code complaint, you know, when they go up the chain of command, they don't even make it to Mark Ott. It gets shut down, usually at the assistant city manager. You'll remember that I got shut down at that level when he said he wouldn't meet with me if city council members were present. So what we have is we're electing our city council members and our mayor. We're not electing the city manager who's actually running the show. You know, the buck stops with Mark Ott, and so far nothing's being done about him.
I guess I don't get, like, what's to be gained by the city manager having, like, what's even there to be gained by by code behaving this way?
Ego.
I think that they want and I think they want to get the message out that even if you fight them and you win, they'll still come after you.
Hey, is anybody? And then I'm just scatter shooting here, as old Blackie Sherrod at the Dallas Times-Herald used to say. Has anybody investigated the not necessarily the code, but the permit guys to see if you pay them a little extra under the table that they'll get your permit quicker? No, really, seriously. APD, if APD is going to go out and follow the code people around, why doesn't APD set up a sting to find out if there's any payments going on underhanded? Because something's going on where you can't get a hamburger joint built in a year. And why isn't Mark Ott being called in by the city council going, and I know they made some changes. They split the department in the middle. And from what I understand, these two guys are overburdened that they split these things up. But why isn't Mark Ott in front of the city council explaining why this is going on?
I have no idea. I think we should ask Don Zimmerman that, and I think that's what Don Zimmerman's trying to do.
Well, why is Don? I mean, Don Zimmerman's a right-wing nut job, and that's my own personal opinion. So he's got all sorts of weird opinions about stuff. I like this one. The civil part of me likes this one. But why aren't the hippies on the damn council? Is Tovo still on? I don't even know who's on there now.
Yeah.
Why aren't they caring about citizens? You're supposed to be caring about citizens. You're not supposed to. We get that you want to keep the golden cheeked warbler from eating all of the salamanders. We get it. Yeah, I got it. You're a hippie. But why aren't you calling Mark Ott in front of the city council and asking him why didn't anybody ask any questions about the $17,000 couch and chairs?
I think that there's no money in this. There's no money in asking these questions. I'm not a big campaign contributor. Don Zimmerman's not even my rep. I live in District 4.
Right. Well, where's your District 4 rep? Who is that?
Greg Kassar. He's the vice chair. He was there last night. He's the vice chair of the committee. But these people aren't even accessible. When you try to get meetings with them, they won't meet with you. You're not guaranteed to go down to City Hall and sit in front of these people.
Did you try to meet with Greg Kassar?
I have not been able to meet with him at City Hall. I've shown up to public events and talked to him there. So,
I can't find the drop-in anywhere. But your case is officially over, right? So why don't you just shut your mouth, as Pat Robertson would say?
That's what I was going to do after I won in court. What fired me up again was seeing the director of code and the deputy director of code on those two separate news stories saying that even though I won, they were looking at coming back after me again.
All right.
That's outrageous.
Well, listen, I sent an email to this gentleman at AustinTexasPrint.com who he wrote me weeks ago, and he said that he could put a wrap around your fence that will look exactly like the trailer.
Let's do it.
So if we get to that point, if they come after you again, I will come down there. We'll broadcast live, and we'll put the wrap up that looks exactly like the trailer.
Now, are we going to do the extension to the ground with that or not? So they can't. Let
me give you an example of these city cowards, though, and they are cowards, and I'll tell you why. And this is why it infuriates me when I hear somebody go, Acevedo. Acevedo will come on the air with me. If I call him right now, he'll go on the air with me. And that's not just me because we're friends. He does it with KLBJ AM. You have a guy who will come out and say why he's doing stuff. But you get one of these other guys. I put in a call when they were going to jack with the cemetery, my mom's cemetery up in Austin Memorial Park. And they're
going to rip everything up.
They had some pussy call me and go, he's declined. And I called him back and said, why is he declined? He goes, he's respectfully declined. They're a bunch of cowards.
Check this out.
Mark, city managers don't last forever. Mark Ott, it's time for Mark Ott to go. I'll be the first one to say it. I hear he's a nice guy, but there's several people down at the city who have told me off the record they can't stand him. So that he's impossible to work with. That it's not run as it's run more. It's not run as a proper bureaucracy. It's run as a,
Well, let me tell you this.
Matt would know, but he's mad at me right
now. I know nothing about how our city works. I know nothing about
it's more of a dictatorship. All right, we got to go, Matthew.
Wait, I want to tell you one more thing.
I don't want to hear it. No, go ahead.
The most outrageous part. Charles Smart started the hearing last night saying that they felt that they would have won the case if two documents would have made it in front of the jury. Well, Carl Smart never showed up. We subpoenaed him, and he didn't even show up.
He subpoenaed me.
The jury. Or to the jury trial. He was subpoenaed. It was his final decision.
You mean he would have won if the city attorneys, which we had to pay for, not me personally, I'm out of the city of Austin, but that the city of Austin citizens would have had to pay for to continue the case against you over a stupid fence?
Well, maybe they would have won if the director of code actually would have showed up and honored the subpoena and defended his department's actions.
All right, man.
Okay.
We'll see you. We'll be in touch. Thanks. Bye. 8:47. We'll be back and learn how to eat bugs.